I steal hermit crabs from souvenir shops. You know those hermit crabs they sell as pets to tourists in coastal souvenir shops? The ones with shells that have badly painted cartoon characters on them? The ones that come free with the purchase of a little plastic carrier with a thin layer of brightly colored gravel, some flake food in a shallow water dish, and a sea sponge in it. Maybe your parents let you get one while you were on vacation as a child because it's such a simple little pet, and maybe you lived for a few weeks or months or even a couple of years in that little plastic box before you noticed a bad smell and found it dead. And maybe you shrugged it off because it's just a little crab and they don't live long, right? Those crabs have a lifespan of 30 plus years. Those crabs are highly social and need to be kept in groups. Those crabs require air that's around 80% humidity or higher in order to breathe, and kept at around 26 degrees Celsius or 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Those crabs need separate pools of both fresh and salt water that are deep enough to fully submerge themselves in so they can regulate their internal salinity. They need large enclosures with deep substrate to burrow down so they can molt. They need a varied and nutrient-rich diet with fresh fruits and vegetables. The little crab you got as a souvenir in the same place selling custom airbrush shirts and shark tooth necklaces died a slow and miserable death. It's a miracle it made it that far to begin with, as all hermit crabs sold in these shops and major pet retailers are collected from the wild. They have their natural shells broken off their bodies with a hammer, so they have no choice but to wear some kiddishy garbage with Spider-Man painted on it. Roughly 50% don't survive the process and no one seems to care. I care. This post was actually taken off a Reddit recap from r/confessions as one of the most clicked on stories this year. It's Reddit recap time. You can check yours out by clicking the little blue whale in the top right corner of your app. You'll also be able to see what communities took up most of your time. For me, my top 3 interests were television, gaming, and philosophy. But the most important thing that it comes down to in your Reddit recap is to find out if you're team dog or team cat. Can you guys guess what I am? I'm of course, neither. I'm too wholesome to pick sides, so I love them both equally. Check out your Reddit recap today and let me know, are you team dog or are you team cat? Now, back to the story. Several years ago, I was in one of these shops and saw hundreds of hermit crabs kept in a bare, unheated, open-air cage with only a shallow dish of water. I could smell them before I saw them, dead little bodies rotting in their shells and limbs strewn out. Children were encouraged to pick them up and play with them and beg their parents for one because they're hardly more complicated than a pet rock, right? If I bought some of them, I could give them a chance to live, but in doing so, I'd be supporting a cruel industry and funding the death of so many more. I'm not sure how long I paced around the shop with my moral dilemma before a sudden realization hit me. I have pockets. As casually as I could, I picked out a couple sickly crabs and gently put them in my pocket. My heart was racing, but no one stopped me when I walked out the door. And so started my life of crime. I don't do it often, but if I'm in town with one of those souvenir shops, I'll pop in and jailbreak a few hermit crabs. I gravitate towards the weak ones and those missing limbs. They're on their way out, but I want them to have a chance or to at least die as comfortably as they can. The ones that have pulled through are all healthy and active now. A colony of contraband crabs. I told her that's chubby. You're chubby. Am I the asshole for telling my girlfriend she's not curvy, she's chubby? Oh my god, buddy, you're running on a thin line right now, and that line snap for sure. I'm already calling you an asshole for this, but let me hear you out. So my girlfriend, 23 female, and me, 26 male, have been together since 2019. She used to weigh about 125 pounds at 5'8". She was pretty thin. The past 13 months, she gained 25 pounds and now weighs 150 pounds. She continuously calls herself curvy, and that's just not true. Her boobs did not grow with the weight gain, and she is still a 34A cup. Her thighs and butt area did grow a bit, but she's still not an hourglass. You're an asshole. Holy shit. I don't like what? Stop. I wouldn't be bothered by this if she didn't heavily identify with it. When she was 125 pounds, she kept identifying with how thin she was. At 125 pounds, she was proud that they couldn't see anything on her CT scan when she had an appendicitis because she was too skinny. She wants to make a TikTok fashion page dedicated to curvy fashion. I got annoyed with her identifying so much with a body type that isn't even hers that I said, "You're not curvy, you're chubby." She looked at me stunned. I told her curvy was like Beyonce, for example. She said that she felt that she was curvy because she's not skinny anymore and not fat. I told her that's chubby, you're chubby. And she began to cry and left my apartment. Oh my god, wow, that's so mean! It's been 12 hours and we haven't talked since. I know this was mean, but it was true. I was so frustrated with the idea of her making this fashion TikTok account for a body type that's not hers. See, let's get to the root of it. Why does that bother you? It's like her own personal TikTok. Like, why do you care? Why does that bother you? It's her life, it's her body, it's her TikTok. Like, why does that? It doesn't affect your life at all. Also, she hasn't had an eating disorder or anything. I think she just naturally gained weight as she got older. Am I the asshole for stating a fact?
I used to have this amazing hair girl named Susanna until one day I cheated on her. I mean, she took me back, but the story was there was this other girl. She lived closer to me. She was super, super cheap. And I was like, I will give her a try. And the first red flag was that she didn't want to do a consult at all. We just scheduled an appointment right away for a multi-custom color. Okay. And I showed up and I showed her the picture of what I wanted, which was to bleach my hair out like Elsa white, like Queen of the Dragons. I didn't watch Game of Thrones. I don't know what she's called, but white. And then like some light pink, like streaks in it. That's what I wanted. And I showed her the picture and I said, can you do this in the time we have allotted, or should we plan to do multiple appointments? Because I'm happy to schedule more appointments. And she was like, oh no, I can do it all today. So we start the coloring process, and the next problem was we were just we had no chemistry, okay? We couldn't talk about anything. I literally pulled out my phone in the chair and Googled icebreaker questions to ask her. Like, I wanted to be chatty. I wanted to talk. She didn't want to talk. So we just sat there in silence. She put in the color first, which I thought was weird. I was like, I think we'd want to bleach my hair first, but she's the pro. And then how it turned out was she put in these like almost like orange, like salmon colored streaks in my hair. Didn't lighten it at all. And she was like, we're done. And tried to send me away. And I was like near tears because like the pink orange she put in looked so horrible because my hair was so dark at the time. And I said, please, like, we have another hour. Can you please just lighten my hair a little bit? I don't want to walk out of here like this. I really don't like it. I said, I promise my hair lifts so fast. It'll be really quick. And also, you know, the next appointment is your sister and you messed this up. So I begged her to keep me for the next hour and just lighten it as much as we could. And she was really, she wasn't happy about it. She was like, fine. And I could tell she was especially unhappy about it because as she was doing it, she was yanking my hair really hard. She was like just grabbing and pulling. And I was like, girl, you're lucky I like this, or I would be having words with your manager right now. And I asked Susanna when I went back to her if that was normal. I said, was it just because we were short on time that she had to yank my hair? And Susanna was like, no matter how fast I need to go, I've never yanked someone's hair. So then she shows me my hair again. It's all finished. We're like 15 minutes after the hour that we'd planned. And it looked bad. It looked really bad. And I was like, oh my gosh, I love it. Thank you. Because there was nothing we could do at this point. And I was done with her. And I thought, like, the hair pulling, like, I felt like that was her being passive aggressive. So I go up, I pay her, I tipped her a full 20%, which I don't even know if you're supposed to tip 20% for hair, but I do. I tipped her, I got in my car and I cried. Then I drove an hour to Susanna's salon and I was like near tears, and I was talking to the receptionist. I was like, can you tell Susanna I need her? And she said, Susanna's not in right now. And I said, can you just schedule a consultation appointment? And she said, yeah, sure. And I vowed to never leave her again, but then I moved away and now I'm scared to start dating new hairdressers. What I think is weird is that if you grew up in a super conservative religious environment like myself, probably you had Sunday school teachers telling you things every week like God's greatest gift to humanity is the gift of choice because Jesus literally died for you so that you could seek your own truth and make your own choices. Speaking of Jesus, he was a socialist, and when he comes back, we'll probably all be socialists again. Also, did you know that Jesus was an advocate for sluts? Yeah, people in the Bible didn't like sluts. They were like, let's kill the hoes. And Jesus was like, no, don't do that. They put these thoughts into our tiny, impressionable little brains, right? And then we grew up into adults and we're like, oh, you know, like universal healthcare would probably be good. And I don't think we should shame women for what they do with their bodies. And I just think that everybody should seek their own truth and, you know, make their choices accordingly. And they should be free to do that. And these same people who taught you in Sunday school are like, who put these radical ideas in your brain? Why is your generation so corrupt? Literally, you did, Sister Edmonds.
Am I the asshole for the way I reacted to my parents' open relationship and no longer paying rent? I, 18 male, live with my parents. I've been paying rent since I was 16 because if I didn't, my parents would be messed up financially. My parents told me they're seeing someone and that the relationship is open, and I didn't care since it wasn't affecting me. Until the guy they're seeing started staying nights. He treats the place like it's his, tries to tell me what to do, and eats all of my food. I tried talking to my parents about it, but they said it's their house so they can have who they want here. I really tried to put up with it until this guy tried to discipline my dog. I flipped out because it was most certainly not the way you discipline a dog, and I was already really tired of his shit. Am I the asshole for the way I reacted to my parents' open relationship and no longer paying rent? I yelled the house down, called him the C word, a piece of S, freeloader, and some more vile stuff that was probably way too effed up to say here. My parents rushed to see what's going on and tell me off, but instead I told them off. I called them terrible parents and said they could shove their house up their butts. I said I'm not going to pay rent to live in a house I have no say in. That dumb C word can cover my rent. A lot of cussing, you guys, I'm sorry. I've since been staying with my boyfriend, and my parents recently texted me asking for my rent. I told them to F off and reminded them of what I said. I think I'm not wrong to not pay rent, but I went overboard with my words.